Well, we were just sitting there with our signs that said, like, we love Sophie, like, thank you, Sophie, for speaking up. And so we were holding them, just watching the game. Again, you were being super great. We hadn't said anything to anyone else. We were being super respectful. We were just holding our signs and cheering for both teams. And this lady, older lady, comes up to us. And she comes up to us, and at first I think she's going to be nice. And she asks, like, what are you guys doing? Something like that. And then it was like, Jesus loves everyone. That's what she told us. And I was
Welcome back. Before we get into today's story, let us know what you think in the comments. Should team owners face punishment for confronting or yelling at fans during games? We want to hear your opinion. Now let's get into one of the biggest controversies surrounding the WNBA this season. The conversation is no longer just about what happens on the court. This time the spotlight has shifted to the stands, where a heated incident has sparked widespread debate across the league. The controversy involves young fans, Sophie Cunningham supporters, and a WNBA team owner at the center of intense scrutiny. During the Indiana Fever's July 28th matchup against the SeattleStorm, attention quickly turned away from the game itself. Reports claim that SeattleStorm co-owner Celeste Keaton was suspended by the league after allegedly using inappropriate language toward young fans. The backlash grew so quickly that the Storm organization later issued a public apology, turning a courtside confrontation into one of the league's biggest talking points.
This Seattle Storm situation is going very south fast. Now we have other big-time business people being accused and caught on film harassing Indiana Fever fans, and these young ladies held a rally for anti-trans. Now during this rally, nothing happened. It was calm. But the Seattle Storm co-owner, who has now been suspended, by the way, we're going to talk about that, made it her business to make sure these young ladies have a very, very tough night that night. And that's exactly what she did. Now, I said this once and I'll say it again. If I'm these young ladies' parents, I'm quickly, in a hurry, talking to legal. We have to sue not only the Seattle Storm, but you have to sue the WNBA for harassment.
Caitlin Clark's team has found itself at the center of one of the biggest controversies in recent WNBA memory, and the league is now facing growing pressure from fans across the country. Stay with us because we're breaking down every major development surrounding this story and why it has sparked such a heated public debate. To understand how things escalated, we have to start with Sophie Cunningham. Over the past week, Cunningham became one of the most talked about names in women's basketball after comments she made during a high-profile ESPN interview. She publicly expressed support for policies that would restrict transgender girls and women from competing in female sports, saying her position was based on fairness and protecting opportunities for female athletes. Those remarks quickly spread across social media, dividing fans almost instantly. Supporters praised her for speaking openly, while critics strongly disagreed. Within hours, the discussion had grown far beyond basketball, becoming one of the most polarizing topics in sports.
Even that, I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like, taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Okay, great opportunity for the WNBA, right? Because it's like an 80-20 issue. Most Americans don't believe that boys should play against the girls. And you're talking about a women's sport league. That's what you're talking about. Women's basketball. If you let the biological men play, you end up with the movie Juwanna Mann, or alternatively, Lady Ballers. A 14-year-old high school freshman boys starting varsity player at any decent public school in America would torch these ladies. That is just a reality. Okay, that is not sexist. That is called reality. 14-year-old boys all over America are dunking. Okay, the WNBA with biological men would just be called the NBA, and the ladies would be called ushers, or at best refs.
When the Indiana Fever traveled to Seattle for their July 28th matchup, emotions were already running high. Before tip-off, demonstrators gathered outside Climate Pledge Arena to show support for Sophie Cunningham, with some carrying signs tied to a local political initiative. The atmosphere remained tense as several supporters brought those signs into the arena. During the game, reports claimed that 2 teenage fans were holding signs reading, "Thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls." According to multiple accounts, A woman confronted the girls courtside, allegedly using profanity and criticizing their message. The incident quickly gained attention online, with videos and eyewitness claims spreading across social media, and turning a courtside disagreement into one of the most talked about WNBA stories of the week.
The co-owners of the team came over and blessed them out and used the F word. And so she was suspended. What was your reaction to this?
Well, it's important to know who these girls are and, of course, the setting of where this game took place. It happened in Seattle, the state of Washington. These girls are 16-year-old girls. They're in high school. One of the girls, her name is Annalie Wilson. She's a 16-year-old runner from Washington State who has taken a stand. Why has she taken a stand? Because she has had to live these policies. Actually, Annalie, she placed second at, I believe it was the Kashmir Junior Olympics regional track meet in the 1600. She lost to a boy. Since then, she's had to find herself standing up before school boards to her peers and to classmates and to teachers and to adults. What she told me was that Sophie's courage has inspired a generation of young athletes. She says that it is such a relief now to know that someone, especially when it comes from a professional female athlete, has their back. And now here she is, as you said, supporting Sophie, and she's being heckled by grown men and grown women, which now to the left, that's considered progressive. It's just sad that young girls, 16-year-old girls, have to be the adults in the room.
Yeah. You know, the young lady, one of the girls that you're talking about, the athlete, she was wearing an XXXY t-shirt, and that's the apparel company that was created by Jennifer Say, who is the gymnast, the former gymnast. And their mission is really just to focus on protecting women's sports. Here's Jennifer reacting to it. Listen to this.
I'm so proud of those two young girls. They're so grateful to have Sophie so loudly and full-throatedly on our court. These young girls have been going it alone, and to have a star from the WNBA stand up and say, yeah, girls deserve their own sports is such a huge win and a vote of confidence for these girls, and they feel like they're no longer alone.
You know, she started that company. You're wearing one of those T-shirts, too, just to protect women. And it goes back to what Sophie said. She said, there's a safe space and love for everybody. Everybody's welcome at my table. Sophie, the basketball player, says this. But she said, I want to support women. I want to make sure.
As the identity of the woman spread online, the controversy grew even bigger. Reports identified her as SeattleStorm minority owner Celeste Keaton, turning what began as a fan dispute into a league-wide story. According to multiple accounts, the teenage fans were booed by people nearby, while videos shared online fueled even more debate about what happened courtside. With the WNBA enjoying record attention this season, the incident quickly became a public relations challenge. Fans, media outlets, and commentators demanded answers, putting pressure on both the league and the Storm organization to respond. What started as a courtside confrontation had suddenly become one of the most discussed stories in women's basketball.
Up to two 16-year-old girls holding a thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls sign and calling them effing insane. One was in tears by halftime. The girls were backing Fever guard Sophie Cunningham, who said she wants biologically men kept out of women's sports. The Storm apologized once in with public. Cunningham is not sending the two girls gifts. She called Keaton's meltdown truly embarrassing. So Sophie Cunningham is sending the two girls some gifts, man. So I'm guessing Sophie talked about this. I wonder how they find out Sophie sending them girls something. So the owner has been suspended for 5 games. I just feel like 5 games is just not enough. It's just not enough, bro. She should be banned. These was kids. This is like a hate crime in a sense. She verbally abused someone else's children. This is very bad, guys. Like 5 games is not enough. Then y'all didn't release the type of fine. This is why we cannot take this league serious, because they do things like this that make us not want to watch it, bro. Not want to watch it at all. Now, Tuesday Fever game, one of the 16-year-old girls stayed up the night before making the sign, then spent halftime crying courtside. A couple of Storm players gave the girls a thumbs down to their face. A man told them to take out the trash on their way out. The team's apology: everyone who attends a Storm game deserves to feel welcome. Now, Sophie Cunningham, like I stated, did state, well, this has been reported that she's going to send them something. But there is video that has been released of a fan telling these young ladies they are trash. This is a bad look. And this ain't just no rinky-dink person. This is a corporate guy connected to Nordstrom's. Let's watch it.
On Thursday, The WNBA announced disciplinary action against SeattleStorm minority owner Celeste Keaton, issuing a substantial fine and a 5-game suspension from attending Storm home games. The decision immediately drew attention across the league and placed the Storm organization under intense scrutiny. Shortly afterward, majority owner Jenny Gilder released a public statement apologizing for the incident and emphasizing that every fan should feel welcome at Storm games. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever avoided commenting on the controversy. Head coach Stephanie White and team officials declined questions about the demonstrations, while a team representative said the organization had no involvement. Instead, the Fever kept the focus on their impressive 105-95 victory on the court.
People who are coming out with the positive, saying, you know what, finally someone has said something. And I don't really look at either side of those, because I know whatever I say, I'm going to get hate and I'm going to get love. And if I'm going to live by the love, I'm going to die by the hate. And that's just not who I am. I beat to my own drum. And so people are always going to have something to say. You could win the championship. You could be the best at whatever it is. And there's still people who are going to hate on you. And so that's just what this world is. So I'm confident in who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I'm happy being me. And I'm going to continue to be that.
You always had kind of that mentality when it comes to, people saying things, or is that something you've built and learned to adapt over time?
I think I've always kind of been able to, handle that type of pressure, I would say, and the type of eyes and the type of people who have comments. And like I said, there's, going to be some negative comments, but there's also a whole bunch of positive comments too that no one really ever, people hate positivity for some reason. I have no idea why, but there's a lot of positive comments too when it comes to that. And so, it is what it is. Like I said, we're all human. We're no one's perfect here. And so I really don't care what other people have to say. I know who I am. My people know who I am. And hopefully I'm doing them proud and making room for young boys and girls in our world to have a better future than we did. I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports were protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Do you think, I guess along the line like that, it goes against perhaps, some people might say, hey, for the trans community, this could be something that could come back on us or be targeted against us. Like, how do you, view that sort of critique?
Like I said, I extend love, and I don't dislike anyone. Like, I think there is room for absolutely everyone here, and I think there's room to love everyone. And I truly think when you get people in the same room and you have conversations, you actually have a lot in common with a lot of people. And so I'm there to love, but I'm also there to love biological women, and I think that there are rights that need to be protected. And like I said, I'm going to stand true to that. I'll never falter in my beliefs in that, but I have never once said I hated the trans community. Like I said, I think there's space for everyone.
This controversy has become one of the most talked about stories in recent WNBA history. What started as a political debate eventually spilled into the stands, leading to a highly publicized confrontation, disciplinary action against a team owner, and widespread discussion across the sports world. Fans remain divided over whether the league's response was appropriate and whether more accountability is needed. Now we want to hear from you. Was a 5-game suspension enough, or should the punishment have been more severe? And what do you think about Sophie Cunningham's decision to publicly stand by her beliefs? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more WNBA news and updates.